Morning, guys. So I was looking at some of the comments after two of my Star Citizen videos. The few times I mentioned Star Wars Galaxies, I actually had a bunch of commenters reach out asking me for some additional details on Star Wars, and the whole interest, so to speak, got me thinking about Star Wars Galaxies as it was pre-combat upgrade, and what about that game made it so good, and why hasn't there really been any solid opportunities to have that kind of game experience again? And why all of a sudden do I have the sense, and it seems like from the commenters, a lot of other people have the sense as well, that this could be, Star Citizen could be that opportunity. So, first off, at least 30 of you had some Star Wars Galaxies questions. So I did play Star Wars Galaxies on the Kedamore server. I was strictly on the Kedamore server. I started playing when it launched in June of 2003, and I played probably till sometime after the third expansion pack, which was Trials of Obi-Wan. I think that was the third one. My primary profession was a master weaponsmith, Rain, for the guild Order of Z on the Kedamore server, as I mentioned. And the guild was, it was a big guild. It was a very prosperous guild. So we were one of the first to the server, so we actually staked out, I forgot actually which direction, but going out of Theed, I believe south, whatever the flat plain was. It was the opposite of whatever the big cliff. Don't go over the cliff on one side of Theed, go the other direction. Anyway, a whole line of player stores up there that the people visited, so the location was prime. And actually, you can see right here and down in the description, I'll put a link to, if you guys are curious, I'll put a link to the old guild recruitment video that I did 15 years ago or 10 years ago, whenever it was. But all that got me thinking about what the hell made Star Wars Galaxies so good. And it's a combination of a lot of things. Obviously, there was the community aspect. We had a lot of connections on the forums. I had a couple of my family members playing too. But every game has the potential to have that. So what the hell made Star Wars Galaxies so good? And if we trace it all the way back, there were a few things unique about the game. Yes, it had a player economy, but the player economy was driven by a crafting and resource setup that I honestly haven't seen replicated to this day. Beneath the surface, I mean, if you think about it layer-wise, beneath the surface of every planet was this shifting layer of resources. So there was like a deposit of steel. I mean, the rating system, there was like 8-10 properties per resource, and each of those properties could be rated anywhere from like 0 to 1 or 1,000. The random generation numbers on this were just ridiculous, you know what I mean? So a steel property could have 8 different properties, and those properties each could be 0 to 1,000. I mean, the quality variances and all these resources, and they were shifting, right? There was whole professions geared around, and I'll tell you a story about that in a couple minutes. Whole professions that came in and just laid down harvesters, these harvester fields, and they just picked up whatever basically shifted underneath. And it was anything from steel to copper to polymer. Like there was so many resources, and all the components and everything you build with these resources. I mean, the number of variations, quality for the resources were so varied that on any given day, if you mined resources, a component for a weapon or the entire weapon build itself, the quality could range so greatly because the resources going into it, the range of the properties on the resources just varied so much. So I think, in my perspective, that's one of the foundational elements here. There's an opportunity for real competitive economies. As I said, I was a master weaponsmith from almost the beginning, so I had a lot of kind of the resources that were spawned in the beginning, but you know, there was new resources that spawned all the time. So my best steel got replaced by other steel eventually. I mean, there were certain components where, you know, it was like 6 to 8 months before there was a really good steel or copper spawn, but somehow there was still a lot of competition. You know what I mean? There wasn't one dominating weaponsmith, and it wasn't just resources too. You know, there was like crate tissues from crate dragons that you could use. You know what I mean? So there was like loot raid hunting components too that kind of went in to amp up certain things. So anyway, so that variation was kind of special, and there was the kind of the whole resource system as well that was unique. There wasn't just like gold and silver, you know, there was ridiculous variations, and I don't even know if it was to be duplicated ever. I don't even know if that was the right way, because there was something kind of clunky about it, and it worked. Everyone loved it. It kind of created that economy and whole economic drive, and they supported it with other stuff. I mean, you had the player build. I can build a shop, and I could put vendors in that shop, and people come there and just buy. And I could stock those manually or whenever I got the chance, you know. So they had the supporting elements for all that. Yeah, but that's kind of one of the the foundational things. Like Star Wars Galaxy was there has to have been other games since then that have made an attempt at something similar. You know, I came across a couple. They didn't ultimately interest me, but sure, I probably missed some games as well. Needless to say, that was something special, and I've run into a couple Star Wars Galaxies players since then. Not a lot from Kedmore. Kedmore was one of the first servers to go down, but I've run into a lot of Star Wars Galaxies players that still feel that hole that was left. You know, that there's never been a game that kind of matched that kind of economical play. The reason I'm bringing all this up is because I in no way expect Star Citizen to duplicate the systems in place that Star Wars Galaxies had. One of the things I'm trying to figure out right now is if there could potentially be a place for old Star Wars Galaxies players to find a new home within Star Citizen. So the reason I wanted to kind of identify what's at the base of that success in Star Wars Galaxies is I want to see if there was something similar or something that can encourage kind of the same type of economic growth in Star Citizen. And I'm still doing the research. I'm still doing the research on crafting and the economy. So there's a lot of video and data to pour through. But that's why I'm actually doing this discussion video, because I want to open it up to you guys. I heard rumblings about player stores and store instances and stuff like that. And again, that's nothing new in a lot of games. I mean, a lot of games have that dynamic. It's more about if there is a vendor profession, what can it do and what kind of flexibility does it have? And can I make a weapon or a ship part, piece of armor, piece of clothing that can be unique, be truly unique enough to drive someone to my shop versus someone else's shop, and not just for the sole purpose that I undercut in price, but there's actually something unique about the item. I'm looking to find out more about, maybe not even on launch, but if down the line something like that would be possible. Another dynamic of Star Wars Galaxies was the automation process, and I feel like this fits in with Star Citizen very well. So you didn't actually craft, so to speak. You assembled. It was a whole factory system. So you put your resources in, and you use your best resources to make a blueprint. So you have a blueprint that's based off of resources. So then you throw the blueprint and all the resources into a factory, and you can just automate. You can make a run of 50 guns, and they could be of whatever quality. And you don't have to worry about failing each time because you have a blueprint. There's this automation / factory process that I had in place, and everything I was learning about kind of the crafting system in Star Citizen sounds like there could potentially be something similar in this game. I mean, maybe I don't want to be a weapon maker. Maybe I don't want to be an armor person. Maybe I want to specialize in this one subcomponent, and this one subcomponent has some resource that's very rare, and I specialize in going to that place that you can get that rare material, and I'm the only one that's really, really committed to doing that. So that's a way that I could maybe get that resource, pull it in, make that component, and I make the best damn version of that component in the whole galaxy. And that's my role. That's what I'm wondering, if is something like that is going to be possible for craftsmen or merchants. Non-fighter types, I should say. That's what I think we've been missing. It doesn't have to be as complex or as convoluted as Star Wars Galaxies had it. It's almost like they went for gold and they got most of the way there. They did enough to create a unique economy and create that competition. But yeah, it doesn't even have to be that convoluted. But I am hoping that there is that sense of I can create something unique. So that's what I'm asking you about. Is there mechanisms in place to create unique stuff in Star Wars Citizen? And that ultimately is what I think Star Wars Galaxies players have been hoping to find in another game. Short story before I go. A couple months ago, I was checking out a game that had a lot of promise, a repopulation. I haven't been back in a long time. I know I had some legal issues, or I don't know, there was some sort of issues. I don't want to speak to it. On the forums, before all that happened, I ran into a former friend on the Kedmore server, Hork, and apologies if you don't want to call you out, but Hork was he ran this massive resource business. That's all he did. I'm sure he did other stuff. To my knowledge, that's all he did. So he had he was one of the guys that went out and just mined. He just went out and mined and got all those. He set all his harvesters down on all these faraway places. You couldn't go many places on Theed or Naboo or many other planets without seeing his harvesters. Because you could name the harvesters too, so it was like Hork Industries, right? So anyway, I ran into him, and it was definitely eye opening that old Star Wars Galaxies player base is still out there searching, waiting, trying to find something. Then again, this is just one Star Wars Galaxy player's take on it. All right, let me know what you think, guys. I'm looking to get a conversation going. I'm looking to find out more about any kind of video or detail. Again, I've been plowing through stuff, but I haven't found what I think I'm looking for, or a declaration that there will not be something like that. So I haven't found it either way. I haven't found any real solid or good information on this. So this might be more of just a passing talk that someone heard from Chris and his vision for the game. Any information you guys have on, I guess, what amounts to the ability for crafters and tradesmen to create a unique product? Is there a, or will there be some sort of functionality to accomplish that? And all the other stuff like player stores, you have your own stores, or you can name items, or all that. I mean, that's just stuff you can build off that. Again, this is just my perspective, but that's the discussion that I'm hoping to get going. All right, I appreciate you guys listening. As you guys can tell, I'm doing more and more Star Citizen videos for this reason. Like, there's so much potential. Like, I never really grasped onto how big of a project or how big of an undertaking Star Citizen really was. Absolute props to the Team Roberts. You guys are killing it. You guys are creating something special here, and it's been a lot of fun to really discover this over the last couple of weeks. Thank you. Keep up the good work, and let me know what you guys think. Later.